Hi, it's Paul O'Mahony here, and I'm here with Millie Ponce, and we have an extremely special guest here for you tonight. His name is Jarek Robbins, and Millie and I first came across Jarek when we spoke at the Life Lasting Success event in Dublin in Ireland last year, and we saw this man speak for maybe over 2 hours, and what he had to say absolutely blew our minds. And from that day, we just knew we had to somehow get this guy onto our webinar and speak to you guys. And we're delighted to say that we actually have Jarek here this evening, who is going to give a quick introduction and tell you a little bit about himself, and also explain to you the extremely valuable information he's going to share with you on an upcoming webinar of ours. So Jarek, can I first thank you very much for coming here this evening, and let me hand over to you, please.
Of course, it's good to be a part of it. I apologize for not getting on sooner, but as you said, I've been working my tail off, going from event to event and doing as much speaking and connecting with people as humanly possible, just to spread the good word and really inspire people around the world and give them the information, the tools, and the knowledge and the experience it takes to really get the results they're looking for. Just a quick snippet of who I am, because a lot of people I've heard probably won't know who I am on this, and just a quick introduction. I spent the last 26 years of my life growing up in the personal development field, literally attending dozens of seminars since I was, I think, 3 months old was my first fire walk, and it was pretty eventful. I can't quite remember that far, but I have pictures, so it looks cool. And in saying that, I spent the last 11 years of my life studying day and night as much as I can, everything I could get my hands on in the personal development industry. Attending, numerous more seminars from a adult's point of view, looking at what is the best of the best that's out there, reading every book I could get my hands on. I've read over 750 hours of personal development books alone, not to mention all the rest of them. And just spending a mass amount of time studying, and not just studying the information, because there's a lot of people who read a lot of books and attend a lot of seminars, but I took the next step. I took the next step of literally applying the tools in my life and seeing what would happen, seeing what results would show up. And the more I applied it, I started to measure it and test it and see which works and which didn't. And over this last 11 years, my main focus has been trying to figure out one simple question: what works? There's all these seminars and all these tapes and all these different programs out there. And the number one question I kept asking is just what works? And I would take a new tool, I would apply it in my life, I would test it out. If it worked, I kept doing it. If it didn't work, I scrapped it and moved on to the next. It just seems logical. And in doing that, I've spent all this time studying and figuring out what works. And then I went into some coaching one-on-one with individuals from around the world and started not only testing it on my own life, but then sharing it with them and getting them the results by using it in their life as well. And I had great success at coaching, and that led into my speaking career, where now I've had the ability to travel literally around the world and speak at all different events, like the one in Dublin where I met you guys, and really inspire people and share these same tools and ideas and systems with them. And in saying all that, it finally came to a point where I would go out and take the best of what I knew and try to share it with a good friend of mine. Someone who's anywhere between 26 years old to 40 years old. And I'd be like, hey, I know you're struggling in this area of life. I'd really like to share this result with you. I'd really like to give you this answer. Here's all you have to do. And they would say, okay, tell me, what is it? And I'd say, well, I need an hour of your time to share it with you. And they would look at me like I'm insane. An hour? Are you kidding? I don't have an hour. And I would scratch my head. I'm like, you don't have an hour to get the tools, the information, and the knowledge it takes to completely turn around a situation you've been challenged with for the last 3 months or 3 years of your life? And in looking at that, I would always be so confused of how a person just couldn't invest 1 hour of their time to get everything they would need to know in order to take their life to that next level, to get everything they need to know to take a challenge that's been around for 5, 10, 15 years of their life and immediately get to the other side. Just 1 hour. It seems so simple and so easy. But for most people, they struggle with time these days. So I've spent the majority of my efforts since that day trying to figure out how could I systematize, chunk, and literally squeeze every precious moment I could to be able to share with people the best of what works, while respecting their time and getting it to them in a simple format that they can immediately apply. So if you're wondering what we're going to be sharing on this webinar, that's it. We're going to be sharing with you the tools that work in a simple system that you can immediately apply to your life. And it's simple to use, fun to use, takes very little time every day, and gets you immediate results. So I figure if you want to join us, I'd welcome you. Hope to meet you on the webinar. Hopefully we'll have some time for Q&A at the very end, and I'll get to meet some of you over the web here. And I look forward to it.
Oh, that's amazing, Jarek. It sounds extremely exciting. I know Millie had a couple of questions that she'd like to ask you about it also.
Of course.
Yes, I mean, what most people ask to people like us, for example, and to people like you that speak all around and want to inspire and motivate, the typical question is why? Why did you decide to do and take the path that you took?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. There's a couple reasons. I started off because I looked around and I was trying to figure out what did I love to do, what did I want to do. When I first went to university, I started off in political science, studying politics. And when I was asked what I want to graduate with, I said a law degree. They asked me why, and I said because you'd make a cool plaque on the wall, which obviously was not the most intelligent answer of my life. But as you could imagine, I got some great guidance from a few mentors of mine, aka the parents, who said, you know, that's not a viable reason to go to college, to get a plaque. And so they talked to me about it and gave me some tools. They gave me some insights on how to figure out what really drives me, what inspires me, what lights me up, what is something I could do every single day of my life. And regardless if I made $1 million or $10,000 a year or less, I would still keep doing it because it just lit me up and made me feel totally passionate, alive, and on purpose every single day. And so I sat down with a journal and I thought about everything I could think of, from becoming a CIA agent to a pilot to everything, an adventurer, a volunteer, anything I could think of. I just wrote it down. And step by step, I went through each one and figured out which one met my needs at the deepest level as a human being. And when it came down to it, there was 3 things that met my needs. Number 1, coaching. Number 2, speaking. Number 3, volunteering. And when I looked at it, I said, wow, all 3 of these things make me feel totally fulfilled, totally alive. And they're activities that I would do regardless if I was paid for it or not. And so if you ask me why I do what I do, you might think it's a selfish reason, because it meets my needs, it lights me up, and it makes me feel totally alive and passionate and on purpose with my life. Not only that, it inspires me to look out into people's eyes when I get to share with them the information, tools, and systems and strategies, and just a simple thought or idea or a new perspective, and watch their eyes light up and see a whole new world of possibilities open before them just from a simple tool or suggestion.
Okay, that definitely answers the question. And another one that we have heard very often is, why do people need personal development?
I would say this. It depends on the person. I believe that if you really want to see what you're capable of and what's possible in your life, you constantly want to be growing. You know, Jim Rohn used to say back in his day, he'd say, if you look at, you need reasonable expectations. If you look at a tree, how tall will a tree grow? Logical answer, as high as it possibly can. You don't see a tree start growing and get about 3 feet out of the ground and go, nope, I'm done. You know, no, thank you. I'm a 3-foot tree. I don't want to be more than 3 feet. I ain't growing. I mean, I've never found a tree like that. Every tree I've seen grow out of the ground, it keeps growing and growing and growing and growing until it reaches the absolute peak of what's possible. Then it sheds some limbs and keeps growing even farther. It's amazing. And most people, though, don't live with that philosophy. Most people show up in life and they grow a little bit and they go, okay, I'm comfortable, I'm done. And because they got comfortable and because they found something that's easy, that makes them feel, you know, meets their needs, it makes them feel safe, they'll settle for comfort instead of striving for what they really dream of. And so I use that tree philosophy in my own life. Why should people have personal development in their life? To see what else is possible.
Yeah, I heard that before. I heard if an oak tree had the brain of a human, it would only grow to 10 foot tall.
Yeah, I heard that too, yes.
So I would say personally, it's that use that same philosophy in your life and say, hey, I want to see how far I can grow. I want to see how much I can do. I want to see what's really possible. If you talk to the people who are most fulfilled in life, it's not always because they're trying to be successful at everything they do, and they're not always trying to achieve everything in sight. but it's because they're always making progress every single day of their life. They're looking for, how can I be one step better than I was yesterday? How can I improve a millimeter more than I did yesterday? How could I do one thing better today that I didn't do yesterday? How could I improve just a little tiny bit more? And that constant little improvement, that constant growth, that constant effort to strive forward is what brings happiness in people's lives.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree with that. So, Paul, do you have any questions?
To be honest, Jarek, I mean, we've been waiting to get somebody like yourself online to speak with our people for quite a while, because I mean, they have the tools in many cases. We've been teaching them the tools, in our case with social media and how to grow their business online, but they're just missing that something that actually gets them to take action. And will that be something that you're going to cover in this webinar with us? That little thing that they're going to need to get them to take that step, take some massive action, as I say.
Of course. And for most people, what's funny is when you say the word massive action, they think of those times when they've gone to an event and got all fired up, and they're all emotional and they're fired up and they're excited, and they go out there and they work and work and work and work and work and work and work, and they look down and they get no results and they go, forget it wasn't worth it. That's most people's version of massive action. And they're like, yeah, I've done the massive action thing. I tried it. I did it for 30 days and nothing happened. I got all excited and woohoo. What my version of massive action would be figuring out what's a couple. Well, I don't want to spoil it. We might save that for the actual webinar itself.
Very good.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so well, thank you very much for this interview, and we really hope that everybody's going to be there that hear this interview, because I think we all need to learn something from you, definitely. And there is no reason not to be there and not to take, the option of being better the next day. So it's I do hope that as many as the people listening to us will actually take advantage of this webinar.
Absolutely. So this webinar, guys, just so you know, is coming up on Thursday, March 3rd. So you still have time to register, but we know this is going to be one of those webinars that's going to be packed well in advance, and we don't want to disappoint you, so please register early. You're going to find the link right next to this video. So if you want to listen to Jarek and listen to what he has to say, and you can tell already that it's going to be extremely exciting, it's going to be full of value, and it really could be that kickstart you need for the new year. So register now, and we really want to thank you, Jarek, for spending the time with us this evening. We know you're a very, very busy guy, and we really appreciate it.
Of course.
Okay, so thank you very much, and we hope to see you all in the webinar.
I look forward to it.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.
Cheers. Thanks, Jarek.
Bye.